Hello and assalamu alaikum, everyone. I am Kashif Kamran. Have you ever wondered how you can grab the easy marks in question number 1 for the AAA paper? In my short investigation today, I will be looking into the opportunities which can give you easy marks in question number 1, and you should aim for them in order to increase your prospects of passing the AAA exams. Now, grabbing the easy marks, where they are in the question number 1, and how can you approach them, and how can you ensure you are getting cent% of those easy marks in the question number 1? Let's investigate that quickly on my Word file, and we're looking at the easy marks in question number 1 of the AAA paper. And this has been an investigation being carried out by me, Kashif Kamran. So just let's put that and let's start to do the investigation. Now, you know, there are two sets of marks you need to attain into the question number 1. There is a technical marks, which are 40 in total. And then there are professional marks, which are 10 in total in the first question. Now, firstly, let's go with the technical marks. That in terms of technical marks, is there something easy to grab in? I think in the technical marks, there are 3 marks, which is for calculating and concluding on the materiality threshold, which you can achieve in the question number 1. This is the requirement relating to audit risk and ROM. So when you get a requirement, a requirement which asks you about audit risk or ROM, from that requirement, 3 marks will be deducted. So if you have an 18 marks audit risk question or an 18 marks ROM question, from that 18 marks, there are 3 technical marks to calculate and conclude on the materiality threshold since September 2022 exam, and these changes came in. So that paragraph for materiality, which you put at the start of the briefing note, where you determine the materiality threshold, firstly on the range given by the partner. Suppose the partner is saying the materiality is to be based on profit or revenue or total assets. So you'll first find the materiality on the range, like profit 5 to 10% or assets 1 to 2% or revenue half to 1%. Then you'll say, okay, which percentage which I'll choose, half or 1 or 2 or 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 for profit. And then concluding that this is the percentage I'm using and why. And that sets your materiality threshold. Now that all is taking 3 marks. Easy. So if you know how to calculate and comment on the materiality as per the changes since September 2022, you're fetching 3 easy marks. And I think this is 3 out of 3 for all students who are well prepared on writing this paragraph, and you should not score anything less than that. Now, other technical marks is upon how you write an answer for audit risk or procedures or ethical issues. We're not going down into saying they are easy marks, because it involves lots of your techniques, how you write a good answer. We'll be covering that later in any session if I get an opportunity. But in terms of professional marks, there are a lot of opportunities to grab easy marks. First of all, there are 3 marks in professional marks, which is for communication skills. So you can easily grab them in. So out of 10, 3 are for communication skills, and you're grabbing them because you need to write the answer to question number 1 in the format of a briefing note. So when you write the answer in the format of the briefing note, you're fetching this 3 marks for communication. How you need to go about this 3 marks? Firstly, ensure that there is a proper heading of the briefing note. That is, at the top of the briefing note, you give the heading briefing note. So you put briefing note, okay, fine, followed by to, from, subject, and date. That's like the header of the briefing note. Date, followed by introduction. So you have to give the introduction of the briefing note, followed by the materiality paragraph. So you have to give the materiality paragraph under that, which has itself the 3 technical marks, and followed by the materiality paragraph, and then ensuring the rest of the answer is done in the logical flow from A, B, C, and D, or ABC, whatever that is. So do A first, then B, then C, then D. Don't do them in haphazard manner, because that's the flow, which is also bringing the marks for communication. So a logical flow, a well-structured briefing note with a heading briefing note, followed by to, from, date, subject, followed by introduction as a heading, followed by materiality paragraph, and then ensuring the rest of the answer in ABCD. Use headings plus subheadings in the briefing note, because this all is the help the audience of the briefing note to easily understand the segregated points. So if you're not, if you break the briefing note into like heading of audit risk, business risk, materiality, introduction, ethical issues, so it will be easier for your partner to understand the segregations and then work under that. So that is clarity of communication, right? Because this all helps the audience of the briefing note to easily understand the segregated parts, and that is where you're fetching your communication marks, 3 of them. Now, one more thing for communication marks, ensure where necessary, give conclusion, because conclusion has to be given for each requirement asking for evaluate. So there could be multiple requirements in the briefing note asking for evaluate, like business risk, audit risk, ethical issues. So we know we now give conclusions after risk, and then you can give conclusion after ethical issues as well for ethical issues. So there could be multiple conclusions in one briefing note. It's not about giving one conclusion at the end of the briefing note since September 22 exam. So you will give conclusion, suppose in A requirement you have business risk, and in the B requirement you have audit risk. So A and B, then you put a conclusion for the overall risk. Then in the C, for example, you have procedures or anything else. And in the D, you have evaluate the ethical issues. So you give conclusion again after ethical issues as well. So whichever requirement is asking for evaluate, give a conclusion in the briefing note. But for the risk part, if A is business risk and B is audit risk, then give conclusion after writing both A and B. Don't give a conclusion for business risk first and then an audit risk. Wait for A and B to finish off and then give a conclusion. So that will all add to your clarity, and clarity will add to the communication marks you have. Now, further, there are other skills as well. You still have 7 marks for other skills, and those other skills, consist of evaluation and analysis. They consist of skepticism, and they consist of commercial acumen. Not necessarily commercial acumen is available in every answer, but that's the number of skills you have in all in the first question, right? But it's very easy to grab marks around evaluation and analysis. Now see how you are getting them. For evaluation and analysis, you have already given a conclusion on materiality, that this is my basis of, suppose I say I will be using 7% of the profit, and I justify why is 7% of the profit, even though that's giving me technical marks, but that justification, that reasoning would also give me an extra mark for evaluation and analysis. Everywhere you are exercising a judgment, you're not just scoring the technical side, you're scoring an extra 1 mark for every exercising of judgment. So wherever a judgment is exercised, for example, in concluding the level of materiality, you must have given a justification, right? Level of materiality. So when you're concluding on the level of materiality, you must have given a justification or conclusions for an audit risk answer where you justify the basis for prioritization as guided in my previous sessions. So that's giving you an extra mark for professional side as well, apart from technical. So wherever a judgment is exercised, for example, in concluding the level of materiality, you give a justification. That's where the examiner will be happy. A conclusion for audit risk or ROM, where you justify the basis for prioritization, you're fetching that extra mark. So that's where you're fetching those marks for evaluation, at least in the question number 1 about justifying the right threshold of materiality or justifying the basis of prioritization. So wherever that justification goes in, you get those marks. Secondly, because it's about analysis as well. So anywhere you do any calculations, or any increase or decrease, you find something has increased or decreased over the last year when you're writing the risk answer, or when you're trying to justify this is a significant risk and you try to find how much it has increased over the last year. So anywhere in the answer for question 1, you find something increasing or decreasing over the last year, or you try to analyze, you try to do the calculation of something. At times, sometimes the calculations for like you have been given the amount of the loan and you know the percentage of the markup. So you try to find, okay, this much is the finance cost. So at times those are workable, right? In exam paper that you find the depreciation cost, you know, the cost, you know, the useful life. So sometimes it's easy working those amounts in the AAA paper sometime. So anywhere you do calculations or analyze increase or decrease, you will be getting extra professional marks for that, because that really makes examiner very happy looking at calculations or increase and decrease in your answers. Examiner gets very happy with those justifications of your basis, whether that's for ROM, audit risk, or for materiality level. Examiner becomes very happy. So that will increase your prospects of scoring on marks for analysis and evaluations, right, in the paper. Now, the last thing, you can increase your prospects of scoring these 7 other marks if you're working on skepticism and you are challenging any wrong opinion, any wrong treatment of the management. You believe any treatment has been done wrong by management. You will challenge them. You will criticize. You will link that with the risk of management bias. You will be skeptical that why is the management doing a wrong accounting treatment? So why is the management doing a wrong treatment? And immediately you click a possibility of a management bias, and you're getting your skepticism marks. A possibility, you're getting your technical marks as well, and extra marks for skepticism, a possibility of management bias. So anywhere in the answer, if you're thinking about management bias, anywhere you're thinking about that the management could be biased in manipulating results, anywhere you're challenging management for their wrong attitudes, wrong behaviors, you try to be skeptical about why is the management very aggressive, or why is the management trying to intimidate you, or why is the management trying to give a gift in hospitality? Why are they offering some gifts in hospitality to the audit team? Because they want you to change the opinion. There could be something in the ethical question where the management trying to give you gifts and hospitality, even though that's the self-interest, gifts and hospitality. And to a certain threshold, it is acceptable. Beyond that, it's not acceptable. But with the self-interest, you can also comment on that. What is the reason management is giving you the gifts and hospitality? Is there something they want to conceal from you? Is that a way to intimidate you, influence you for a favorable outcome? So you can link even that situation to the skeptical mindset of the auditor, and you can fetch those marks around skepticism. For acumen, in the question number 1, I think you have very limited space for acumen. If you get a question on business risk, you can think commercially in the context of the impact the risk will have on the business objectives. So business risk, and when you're thinking about the impact on business objectives, that's where the acumen is coming in. You need to think of the right objective. So if there is a business risk, thinking whether it will affect the profit or the cash flow, whether it will affect the reputation of the company. So those sort of things do fall under acumen, because you're thinking about how will this have an impact on the business, or how will the business be affected because of the business risk. So when you're taking the impact on the business objectives, that's where an acumen skill would be demonstrated as easy as possible. Or for example, you are taking a question on matters in deciding whether to accept a new audit client, or an engagement, from a new or existing client. Questions around practice management is a very common phenomena. So when you are considering those methods from the case study in deciding on a new client, or in deciding upon an engagement from an existing or new client, deciding whether. So this deciding whether is also when you're exercising the acumen. So when you say deciding whether to accept or not, so you will think about your decision to accept or reject. So that's where acumen would come in, because with acceptance, that's an income opportunity for the audit firm. With the rejection, you're losing the income, but you're losing the income because you believe that ethics is more important than income. So you have to give your sound conclusions. So whether to accept a decision or not, with acceptance, it's an opportunity for the audit firm. With the rejection, that's an loss of income for the audit firm, but you're losing the income because you want to uphold integrity. So that is where acumen would come in. Moreover, because you're taking a decision, you're deciding whether, so it will give you extra marks for evaluation and analysis. So it's not just fetching you the acumen marks in terms of accept with income opportunity and reject with income loss. It's also giving you a extra mark for analysis and evaluation, because you have taken a decision. So everywhere you decide something, you justify something. Everywhere you calculate something or you analyze increase or decrease, you're getting easy marks. Challenging, management bias, business risk, impact on the business objective, very clear impact on the business objective. You're fetching easy marks under these skills. And I believe the big difference between passing and failing AAA since these professional marks have come in from September 22 is how much you grab from the professional side. I hope this analysis under different heads, the 7 marks under 3 different skills and 3 marks under communication skill, would largely benefit you of improving your prospects of at least taking 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 from the professional skill marks in the upcoming exams. 3 easy technical marks at least you have in the question number 1 for calculating and commenting on the materiality. So I think there are a total of 13 marks out of 50, which is bonus. And if of these 13 you can score 11 to 12, you're on a fair way to pass the AAA exam in the first go. And the same techniques on professional marks. Communication skill is not in the question 2 and 3, but the other skills are in question 2 and 3. So you can use the same judgments as well. I hope this session would largely benefit you in terms of opening your mindset around opportunities. And any student who take wise decisions around opportunities will pass the exam. So please ensure there are opportunities to be grabbed up, but your wise decisions is most important. Your wrong decision can be a hindrance in getting those opportunities, right? So don't take wrong decisions in the exam. So wish you all the very best of luck. I hope you like this session around the easy marks, and I'm Kashif Kamran signing off from this session. Thank you. Take care, and Allah Hafiz.